You're listening to Peterborough's community radio, Salam Radio. Salam Radio. 106.2 FM.
Assalamu alaikum. This is your very own Dr. Shabina Asad Qayyum for Salam Radio 106.2 FM. And it's such a delight to be back. Only after 1 week, mind you. It's great to be back. I've always loved speaking to you all on the show. We've just had an absolutely fabulous show with brother Rustam Suleiman. And wasn't that just a wonderful show? And do you know what I absolutely love about his show? The fact that when I'm sat outside, I hear all of these wonderful naats that he reads with the young brothers and the young sons that are here. And it exuberates a sense of calm, makes me prepared for my own show, helps me with delivery. Yeah, it puts me in the right mood for it. And I'm back. I mean, you know, today, I will admit, I feel very tired, and I don't know whether that's because of my job. I work, if you didn't know, and I've got to give you this intro, I work as a GP in a local inner city practice. And it's just getting a little bit more busy as we're approaching the winter months and the seasons because of upper respiratory tract infection, viruses, flus. I've seen plenty of unwell little ones today. Coughs, colds, you name it, I've seen it today. And a lot of people usually say to me, well, they always say to me, oh, no, it's fine. Don't come too near. You might catch something off me. And actually, I think with my exposure to all of these bugs, I've become relatively immune, which is a good thing, I think. But yes, it has been an incredibly busy day today. And how's your day been? I hope you've all been wonderful at work. And for those of you who've been to school, I hope that you've had a lovely day at school as well. And the reason why I am presenting this show today, it's about something that's quite pertinent. And I know that I like to deliver shows on those topics of health that are upcoming, in trend, but also in line with the health awareness that we need to create. And actually, it is going to be the start of Anti-Bullying Week this week. So last week, as you know, I delivered a show on prostate issues, but this week I found that it should be important for me to deliver a show on bullying issues and the emotional impact with that. As we know, emotional health and well-being is very much a part of our overall well-being. It is a health issue. Those that emotionally thrive well within school or in the workplace are known to be more productive. So why should bullying be exempt from any of those conversations? I think we need to talk about it. So that's why I want to talk about bullying, and in order to do so, I would love for you to join in the conversation, of course, by ringing me on 01733 602 133, and you can text me on the WhatsApp number, which is 074 1119 1062. And you also know that we've got this live stream going on, which I find is really particularly popular on Facebook, YouTube, X, and Twitch. So, we are going to be talking a little bit about bullying. I do have a lot of resource that I want to share with you about, but I want to make this relatable. And first of all, I'd really like to thank all of those people that have shared this show and have commented on this show, because you've brought up some incredibly important points. And whether that is because you have had your own experiences with bullying, I would really like to know. So what is it that what's your experiences with bullying? Do you have children at all? And are you an adult that has experienced bullying in the workplace? I'd really like to know. So do ring me on 01733 602 133. Comment under the live stream. Tell me what your thoughts are. I think we really need to start talking about some of these taboo issues. And if we don't talk about them, then how on earth are we going to address them? And that's the ethos of this show, is to talk about those issues that are up and coming, that are trending at this moment in time. And I think that people need to know a little bit about it. So first and foremost, you'd ask yourself, what is bullying? Because bullying is an emotional subjugation of an individual or a child to a form of behaviour. And it's actually intentional behaviour. I don't classify bullying as being non-intentional. It is intentional behaviour. It is done with the view to cause harm to somebody's emotional welfare. That is why bullies really do reap a lot of the damage that they do, because they have an intention to harm the other person. And everything that I say in this show, I hope resonates with any of you listening. I am somebody who was bullied incessantly in primary school. I really was. And I have no shame in saying this whatsoever. How I navigated it, how I went through it at the time. The school didn't have policies in law as they would now. That was back in the 80s. But even now, in the workplace, I've been very lucky. I haven't had bullying. But for those of you that know me from a political perspective, I have been bullied as a Muslim female within politics, and I openly talk about it, but I'm not going to talk about it here for the purposes of this show, because this is a health show, and I think that we need to focus on the emotional repercussions of bullying and what needs to be done about it. So it's intentional behaviour. It's intentional behaviour that seeks to hurt someone else. Includes name calling, if you're talking about children in schools, name calling, hitting, pushing, spreading rumours about that child, threatening or undermining that child and their function, who they are, how they look, their ethnicity, their faith. All of this can incorporate part of bullying, and it can happen anywhere. And there's a more complex form of bullying, which is cyberbullying, which I'm going to touch on a little bit just before the show goes into our advert. And it's repeated over a long period of time sometimes. And it can hurt children both physically and emotionally. And that's what I want to do. I want to talk about bullying of children within the school setting or outside, and even online. And then in the second half of the show, I really would like to talk about addressing bullying in adults as well. So if that's something that you are ready to listen to, please come on board, because I'd love to hear from you. Now, I don't need to reiterate the forms of bullying that children are subjected to, but if you are a parent whose child has been accused of bullying, I think you need to hear this too. And this isn't coming from a place of judgment. We are not here to judge on Salam Radio. It's much like my role as a professional. If somebody who is being bullied and is the victim comes to me for help and support and advice, I have a duty of care towards them, and I will help them. Likewise, if a bully comes to me, or the parent of a bully comes to me, I will not meet them out with judgment, but I do have a duty of care towards the victim and also towards the person who has been accused. So it's very important that in such circumstances, health professionals are fair in whatever they're meting out. In the instance, however, that significant harm has been meted out to the victim, then steps further need to be taken. And in some rare cases, not just the school, but police also need to be informed. So it's important that I announce this disclaimer that all of the advice that I give is general advice. If anything that I say in this show today resonates with you on a personal level, feel free to email the show, share your experiences, message us, or likewise seek proper professional advice from a professional within the GP surgery or another health provider. So, bullying in its different forms is physical bullying, hitting, slapping, or pushing someone. It could be verbal bullying, where you're name calling somebody, gossiping about them behind their back, or even threatening abuse, which can often happen and is probably one of the most common forms. Then you've got the non-verbal abuse type of bullying, which is hand signs, or even text messages. Then you've got the emotional abuse, which is a form of bullying, which is threatening, intimidating someone, undermining them, humiliating them. Then you've got exclusion, and that often involves ignoring or isolating someone, and that can be a horrible form of bullying. And the isolating and excluding someone type of bullying has been seen mostly in females, in school children, and it can be horrible. And spreading rumors about them, controlling or manipulative behavior, that's another form of bullying as well. Making silent, hoax or abusive calls, that's the other form of bullying. And also, the other forms of bullying are racism, sexual bullying, transphobic bullying, or even homophobic bullying as well within the United Kingdom. These are all forms of bullying that have been stipulated and can be seen on the resources of the website, such as the NSPCC and also the Bullying Alliance website. So do have a look at them. And there is also a dedicated government website for bullying, if you didn't know. So have a look at it. Some of the resource in that website is invaluable. Now, the one form of bullying that I missed out, that often people don't really comprehend, is bullying somebody who has a disability. So that disability could be anything. It could be an invisible disability, or it could be a visible disability. An invisible disability could be a learning difficulty, for example. And that's a form of bullying too. So we have to be sensitive to all these types of bullying that take place. And if you are somebody who has been subjected to this bullying but you haven't done anything about it, this show is going to set out what needs to be done about it. So if you've already joined us, this is Dr. Shabina Asad Qayyum on the Body, Health and Mind show on Salam Radio 106.2 FM. I am presenting a show on bullying. I'd love you to be able to join in, chip in, send us messages, comment under the videos, ask me questions. That is what I want you to do. Ask me any type of questions. I will go into the second half and answer as many of those questions as I can. I'm going to talk about what should be done according to the law, where there are gaps that we see or identify within our city as to what needs to be done further, and actually some of the things that I've personally done within my own professional roles, and to see if they've been working or not. So those are some of the things that we have to do. But I am going to talk a little bit about online bullying, called cyberbullying. Now, this is a new type of bullying, and often people feel incredibly helpless. Parents especially if their child has been subjected to cyberbullying. And it takes place online. And it mostly takes place on social media channels. And I don't know about you, but I've got 4 children, and each one of them have their devices, and we monitor their social media. I think it's very important as a parent that you monitor your children under the age of 18 when they have social media. It's important that you see the friends that they are chatting to, and some of those friends who might not be friends in terms of not going to the same school. It is incredibly important that you speak to your children openly about the online dangers of cyberbullying, or in fact the other risks that they are exposed to when it comes to going on online platforms. And this is something I keep an eye on regularly with my own children. Yes, I may come across as a dictator to my child, but the reason why I'm concerned about them is that I love them and I want to protect them, and I equally explain that to them as well. And you know, we've got a good wavelength and an understanding when it comes to that. So I think that it's important that we share as much information as possible with our children. There are many schools out there that also deliver talks on the aspects of being safe online, especially for children going into schools, and more so those children that are hitting puberty in secondary schools need to be mindful as well. So online bullying, the reason why it's unique from other forms of bullying is that a child can be exposed to online bullying all the time. All the time. It's that type of bullying that can follow a child wherever they go, via their social media networks, by gaming, Have you seen the amount of games that young people are on nowadays? I think that it's really important that we have a look at the type of people that they're playing with. What are the age? Is there any age difference? There shouldn't be an adult playing games with a child. There is something wrong about that. And, I might sound incredibly open about this and direct about this, but actually, unless they are a relative and somebody that you know who is in a place of trust, online games can have platforms that can be quite deep. It's difficult to unearth where these people are from and what networks are being formed. So, in my opinion, it is incredibly important to ensure that you know who your children are playing with when they're doing online gaming. Okay. And a lot of that can extend offline as well. So you have to be very, very careful. And I'm going to go over some types of cyberbullying as well. Now, cyberbullying can include messaging as well. A lot of messaging, as you know, takes place online through social media platforms, and there are some, to name a few, like Instagram, for example, or Snapchat is incredibly popular in children. These are animated. They're designed to lure or actually invite children to use those platforms. And we are in a world of global information nowadays. Information is readily available at our fingertips, and there are emotional impacts of not receiving an instant message or a response from somebody when a message is sent to them. And those are some of the things that we really need to think about as parents too. So part of the main reason why I'm talking about cyberbullying is it can probably be one of the most damaging form of bullying and probably have one of the most worse impacts in the way of emotional well-being on children. And cyberbullying there are examples of cyberbullying like creating and sharing embarrassing photos and videos of a child, trolling, sending of menacing and upsetting messages on social networks, chat rooms, or online games where there can be a pylon of people on that child as well. Excluding children from online games if you are a group of children who are playing as well, shaming somebody online, setting up hate sites or groups about a particular child, encouraging young people to self-harm. Those are the more sinister and more deeper kinds of bullying that are taking place and are really very serious as well. Voting for or against someone in an abusive poll. People who create fake accounts. Now, I've been personally subjected to this, and this is so damaging, and it can have such an enormous impact on your well-being. But creating fake accounts, hijacking or stealing online identities, I've had that as well. I've had people make false identities of me and create accounts using my content, using my videos, using my photographs as well. And this is all done to embarrass young people. So when it's done maliciously, it actually is a form of cyberbullying. And the more serious type is when young children are groomed online and they're sent explicit messages. And also those young children are then pressurized in doing something indignified that exposes them. And I do feel that radio, especially within our community, is definitely the place to talk about this. We really do have to, and talk a little bit about how we resolve this issue as well. And a lot of accountability has to be carried by social media platforms. And that's something that the government is looking at in terms of legislation. But that's a whole different conversation. For now, if you are listening to this program right now and you are worried about a change in behavior in your child, then it could be that they are being bullied. And what would you want to look at? If your child is being bullied, what are the signs of bullying? So first of all, the biggest, for a mother especially, or a father, if you're looking after your children by yourself, or you don't have a partner, or you're a single parent, what are the signs to look out for to see whether your child is being bullied as well? So if their belongings are getting lost and damaged, and your child feels increasingly nervous about this. If you see that your child has physical injuries on their body, such as unexplained bruises. If your child is afraid to go to school and starts becoming or developing a pattern of becoming ill each morning or skipping school. There could also be a change in how they're doing at school, including a dip in their grades, or not even handing their homework in, or not getting around to do their homework as well. If your child is asking you for, or even stealing money to give to whoever's bullying them, that's also a form of bullying too. If you see that there's a change in behaviour in your child and your child becomes quiet, loses confidence, or becomes distressed and withdrawn, that could be a sign of bullying too. A change in eating or sleeping habits, where they're having a poor sleep, that could be a sign that they're being bullied. And bullying others, especially smaller siblings within the home, could also be a small sign of bullying. So we shouldn't shy away from that. And what are the effects of bullying? So the effects of bullying can last into adulthood, believe it or not, because children, how they are treated when they are young, can shape who they are as adults. So be very wary of how your child, what behaviours they're exposed to. If you believe that they are being bullied, it needs to be nipped in the bud as soon as possible and as a matter of urgency. Bullying, in the worst possible case scenario, has driven children to suicide. And that's when bullying makes the news. But we are here to change the narrative about that. Now, children who suffer bullying can also suffer from depression and anxiety. They can have fewer friends. They can also not be accepted by their peers. They're wary and suspicious of others. They can have a lack of trust with other people. And they can also have problems adjusting into school. And they don't do as well. So, as you can see, everything that I've said in the last 20 minutes or so is all emotional, health and well-being related. So why would we not be able to take this seriously? It's important that we take this seriously. Now, all children who are affected by bullying can suffer harm. Whether they're being bullied, or they bully others, or they witness bullies. And it's so important that those children get the support that they need if they're being bullied. Now, there are particular groups of children who are at risk and can be seen as an easy target. It's important to talk about those groups of children. That's what we do at a community radio station. So they can be bullied on the basis of their race and ethnic background. If you are somebody that belongs from an ethnic minority background, the chances are you're going to be bullied more than somebody who is from the indigenous populations here in this country. You can be bullied on the basis of your gender. Boys may bully girls, girls may bully a boy, or it could be even that girls bully girls. And actually, girls bullying girls, girls can be particularly nasty when they bully other girls. And I say this quite openly. I say to every parent who comes to me with a daughter who's crying her eyes out, that girls can be particularly nasty to other girls when they go to school. And I'm not scared of saying that. And it could be because those children appear anxious or have low self-esteem, they're shy or they're introverted. But don't underestimate the popular children could also be bullied, and they could be bullied online because others are jealous of them. And sometimes a child's family circumstance or home life can also be a reason for someone bullied them. I remember being bullied when I had a short spell in my life when I was a child, that we fell upon hard times. And my goodness, the amount of bullying that I was subjected to at that time. People would call me smelly, people wouldn't want to come near me, I would get beaten up in the playground. There were lots that happened to me, but I was very lucky that my parents gave me a house and a family and a home full of love. And actually, my parents addressed this straight away and nipped it in the bud. And that's why I feel particularly strong about this topic, today when I'm talking to you. So do think about a lot of what I've said. I think what it's important is that in the last, as we're approaching a break now, in the second half of the show, we're going to talk about support for these children. And because it's very difficult for children to talk about them being bullied. So it's very important that they have a wraparound of professional support around them, including schools, including health professionals, and any other stakeholder that could help them. And first and foremost, the parent. But do remember that when a child is being bullied, the parent of a child is also the victim because they feel the most helpless. So there is a duty of care placed upon those health professionals and teachers to address the bullying. Don't go away. Do come back after the break because we are going to talk about addressing bullying once and for all in our young children and what we all need to do to come together and support our children. Come back after the break.
You're listening to Peterborough's community radio, Salam Radio. Salam Radio. 106.2 FM.
At Master's Pharmacy, we put your health and convenience first. We offer free blood pressure checks and blister-packed medication. With our free same-day prescription delivery service, you can have your medication when you need it. We also offer travel vaccinations, including Hajj and Umrah, along with other services to meet all your pharmacy needs. For more information, contact Master's Pharmacy on 01733 567 208 or visit us at 303 Lincoln Road, PE1 2PH.
Are you a savvy shopper searching for the best food deals? Look no further. Adams Cash and Carry can help you save big. We're not just a food wholesaler for takeaways and restaurants. We also welcome household customers at our warehouse in Westwood, Peterborough. Visit our website and enjoy wholesale prices on everything from drinks to flour, rice to burgers and much more. To shop, go online and collect in store. Visit adamscashandcarry.co.uk today to start your savings spree.
For the top pizza in Peterborough, visit Top's Pizza. Established in 1988 for delicious pizzas with freshly made dough daily. View the extensive and mouth-watering menu online at topspizza.co.uk. Then choose from traditional tasty toppings, something different, or create your own with fresh 100% halal meats, salads, veg, and a great choice of sides too. Call into Top's Pizza, 52 Broadway, PE1 1SB. Call 01733 913 775 or order online for delivery or collection.
Where can you get high quality and low prices? Amar Food Store and Halal Meat in Lincoln Road, Triangle is the place to go. Pay us a visit and take advantage of our special offers and great range of products on groceries, vegetables, fruits and halal meat. Also send money to Pakistan absolutely free. We have all top brands at special offers, offer free customer parking and provide a free local delivery service. Amar Food Store and Halal Meat, 613B Lincoln Road, Peterborough. Call us on 01733 687 374. High in quality, low in prices.
Satisfy your cravings at Ibrahimi Buffet Restaurant. Enjoy a tantalising variety of Chinese, Italian, Pakistani and comfort food favourites, from starters to desserts. Kids under 5 dine for free, so bring the whole family to our restaurant at 63 Sycamore Avenue. Open every day from 5pm to 10:30pm. Call us on 01733 313131 or book online to reserve your table. Ibrahimi-restaurant.co.uk. Every bite is a delight at Ibrahimi Buffet Restaurant.
Do you own a restaurant or takeaway? Cater Fair is an expert supplier of new and used commercial catering equipment. Visit caterfair.co.uk for quality equipment on sale at the lowest prices, or call us on 01733 310 115 or visit us at 11 Royce Road, Fengate, Peterborough.
Whether you visit the Berry Furniture Showroom at 78B Fengate in Peterborough or view and buy online, you'll be amazed at the quality and style you could enjoy in your home. With beds from just £299 and complete 3-2-1 sofa sets from less than £1,000, you'll also be amazed at their wholesale prices too. Plus, there's a 1-year free warranty on sofas and beds, subject to conditions. Find out more, click on Berry, that's BERRE furniture.co.uk or call 017 0733 300 517.
Peterborough's community radio station, Salam Radio, 106.2 FM.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back, everyone. This is Dr. Shabina Asad Qayyum, your very own GP on Salam Radio 106.2 FM. I usually switch between saying your very own Dr. Shabina Asad Qayyum to your very own GP. I mean, you know, it's interchangeable, really, the terms. The amount of questions that I get asked just for medical advice sometimes far supersedes the number of shows that I do, but I'm happy to be called both. Now, before the show, we were talking about bullying in children. What is bullying? What are the signs and symptoms of bullying? Well, the symptoms, yes, but the signs most certainly within children. What are the emotional repercussions of bullying? The types of bullying? We've had an in-depth discussion on cyberbullying, and I'm really quite enthusiastic when I talk about this issue. The reason being that I'm somebody that has been subjected to it. And actually, it's made me more resilient. I've been subjected to it in my adult life as well, within a political arena, and I have come through it. And I'm a survivor. And when you're a survivor, you want to share your story because you want others to be resilient. And that is why I'm here. So listen on. In the meantime, what I am going to do is give you the views of some of those people that have commented in anticipation of the show. I'd really like to share what their feelings are and actually relate a little bit. So we've had Sister Shabs Akhtar, who has commented that schools can do so much more to tackle bullying. It's not always the children who bully each other. Often children don't feel able to tell teachers what's going on because of fear of not being believed. Now, I'd like to say to that that is a very common theme that I'm seeing in parents when they bring their children to see me in the GP setting. Honestly, I have lots of children that I see who suffer from bullying, and this is a very common theme. The reason why children become more insular about how they're feeling or what their experiences are is because they don't feel believed at school. I'm not saying that every school does that, but yes, there are lots of children who say that they cannot talk about it for fear of not being believed. And that actually stems from how a child is made to feel within their school environment in the first place. What are school settings doing to make children feel valued, to make people or children feel that they have a sense of self-worth, to make them feel confident in themselves, to educate children from a wider perspective that there are different faiths, different races, people have different beliefs, and it's okay because we live in a diverse country. And I'm very well aware that there are some schools that are brilliant at doing that. The majority of schools possibly are, but where you see instances of bullying in a child, we have to ask ourselves and look at every individual case by case to see where there are any shortfalls, where there are any deficiencies, and what needs to be done. And an action plan needs to be drawn up, doesn't it? So that is why I think that that's very important, what Sister Shabs Akhtar has said, and I completely agree with you. So we've got to address that as well. We've also got Brother Jamal, who has said children should let a responsible adult know. Adults should join a self-defense course to feel more confident in calling them out. So I'm not sure if Brother Jamal means enrolling the child in a self-defense course, because obviously we would always advise, and this is what the UK government website says, we should never take the law into our own hands, especially when it concerns childhood bullying and it's a child with another child. It can be very tempting sometimes to approach that child, but we cannot take the law into our own hands and address that child. That there are ways and there are means, and I'm going to help you identify that too. So keep on listening. Do tune into the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, X or Twitch, or you can comment on the live stream. You can ring me on 01733602133, or you can text and WhatsApp on 07411191062. So if your child has bullied someone, And trust me, this can and it doesn't have to be a continuous pattern of behavior. It can just be a one-off. And if you find out that your child has subjected another child to emotional or physical hurt, even as a one-off, you have a duty to make your child understand that that is unacceptable. Period. And I say that with a bit of a pause on the end, because if you found out that your child has done something to hurt someone else, yes, in the majority of instances, you will feel angry, you will feel disappointed, and there will be a number of other strong emotions as well. And it is very important that you explain that what they're doing is not just unacceptable, but also that young people may not actually realise that what they are doing is bullying or understand how much their actions have actually hurt someone. So it's really important to assert that fact first of all. But please don't endorse their behaviour. Please don't be proud of the fact that they are strong or macho and have meted out this behaviour to another child, because they haven't. And in fact, it's appropriate for me to say at this moment in time that bullies can almost or most certainly be the biggest cowards, because they feel that they choose their target on the basis of a particular unique identity in that child, or because there are qualities in that child that they can't have themselves. And that is why it is very important that if your child has bullied somebody, you make them aware that it is not the child who they are bullying that has the problem, but it is them. And you set the precedent here as a parent of a child who is being accused of bullying or is bullying, of either ensuring that that behaviour stops or it continues. So the buck really does stop with the parent of the bully, if they are young enough to listen to you, that is. Because when they go into secondary school, it's a completely different ball game. And I know that teenagers have a mind of their own, and it can get particularly volatile as they go into the higher years of secondary school as well. Now, explain to your child, if you're the child of somebody who's bullied another child, that you are going to tell their school and what you expect your child to do now if they are a younger child. And ask them, if they are a younger child, if they have any questions about why their actions need to change. So it's actually a form of self-assessment. You are allowing this child to self-assess their actions, and that is very important. If you don't give the opportunity for that child who is bullied to self-assess and distinguish between what is right and wrong, then you're actually allowing them to continue. You don't just tell them off, but you actually give them the opportunity for them to deeply understand how harmful their actions are. And without that reflection, they won't realise. It's not a matter of just telling them off. Don't tell them off, simply educate them. But with firm boundaries in place and action points. Monitor your child's behaviour and have ongoing conversations with them about how they treat others. And actually, do praise them when they have a positive outcome and they come back and they share with you. But let's talk a little bit about solutions. How would you as a parent talk to your school? It's very important that you make sure that you have everything in place and all of your homework done before you approach your child's school about bullying. It's very important. If you have English as a second language, please get somebody to assist you. And trust me, in my other position, in my other work, other than a GP, I have dealt with some really difficult cases of bullying, and actually it has led to changes in school environments. That's not always a good option. But where we have had no resolution or the school hasn't taken adequate steps, we have changed the school. And the reason why I say we is because in my capacity as a health professional, remember, we have a duty of care towards that child who's being subjected to this behaviour. So understand your school policies. That's the first and foremost step that you need to take. And you know, schools have a legal duty to prevent bullying and to keep children safe. Remind them of their legal duty to do so. Read up on the school's complaints procedure and ask for their anti-bullying policies. It should be available on the website of each and every single school, whether they are managed by the local authority or they are academy schools. And they legally have to have anti-bullying policies, and they should allow parents to see those policies. Now, if they're not on the website, you ask the school for copies. They should. And be clear on what your child's rights are. So you've asked to see the policies, they've shown you the policies. Now your child has a right to be in a safe environment in school. And bullying, as we know, is a form of peer-to-peer abuse. And it is abuse. And all schools have a legal duty to keep your child safe from harm, whether that be online abuse, physical abuse, verbal abuse, social abuse, emotional abuse. Now, there are different laws according to what part of the country you live in. So if you're in England, the laws are different to Wales and Scotland and Ireland as well. But the legal duties of schools are available on the Department of Education's tackling and preventing bullying and keeping children safe in education guidance. These are two documents that are available on the Department of Education online, their platform, and it would be important for you to read through, to be aware of your child's rights when they're being subjected to some form of emotional harm, especially in this case bullying too. And because we live in England, I'm going to just constrict us to the laws in England. Now, according to the Education and Inspections Act 2006, schools have to have measures in place to avoid all forms of bullying, all of those forms of bullying that I showed you and spoke to you about in the initial parts of the show. All of these measures should be shared in the behaviour policy of the school. But schools may also have a separate anti-bullying policy. My advice usually is that schools should have a separate anti-bullying policy. It doesn't really have to be incorporated into their behaviour policy, but their anti-bullying policy, I feel personally that there should be a separate one. And I've campaigned for this in the past as well. And this is something that I'm so refreshed to say, but actually bullying is a child safeguarding concern. And whether anybody disagrees with me or not, it's part of the Children's Act in 1989. It has already been stipulated as a safeguarding concern because it's been described as peer-on-peer abuse. And there's not a law against bullying as such, but when there is reasonable grounds to suspect that a child is suffering or is likely to suffer significant harm, a bullying incident should be addressed as a child safeguarding concern under the guise of that Children's Act 1989 that I've just spoken about. So make sure that you know your rights and your child's rights when you are approaching school. It's very important. Now, if your child belongs to a particular faith, ethnicity, race, gender, disability, and age, schools have to take action against all forms of harassment on the basis of those qualities, okay, or those identities. So they have to, by law. And that is according to the Equality Act 2010. So I know my acts, I've done my homework, I've done this a lot. So you can see that is the reason why I have dealt with many complex cases of bullying. It's very, very difficult to get past me whenever I come across a case of bullying in the area that I cover and I represent. I don't let schools get away with it that easily, and they won't. Now, In very, very rare instances, there are some forms of bullying that could be deemed to be criminal activity, where physical harm has taken place, sexual harm has taken place, threats of harm in a way that would be deemed to be criminal, and malicious communications. And I'm telling you, if any of you have been subjected to malicious communications that seem to be harmful, that speak about race, trust me, as a responsibility, as a responsible body, that the parent of the child or the school could be found to be guilty if they don't put a stop to it. So it's very important to highlight that fact if your child is being subjected to that form of discrimination too. Now, what if your school really isn't taking much of an interest? You don't have to wait for your school to act. If your child has suffered significant harm, go to your local children's services team at the local authority and the police. Don't hold back from going to the police. And this is the bit where children often freak out when I see them. And it's often myself that tells them that this is the fuel that feeds the bully's fire, that you are scared of what if, in case I go to the police, or my parents address this with the school. Trust me, bullies are the biggest cowards. They cannot do anything to you if you are in a school that addresses this properly. Now, it's important that you prepare yourself to meet with the school. There are lots of online resources, including the NSPCC. A really good website is kidscape.org.uk. I'd like you to have a look at their resources because they have templates for letters that you can write to the school if your child is being bullied. Please have a look at Kidscape. I think they've got some brilliant resources. And also the Anti-Bullying Alliance, I think, is very important too. So when you're preparing for the meeting, keep minutes of everything that you have said in that meeting and what you have been told by either the teachers that are meeting you or the head of the school. It is very important that you keep a log, and also keep a log of the times, the dates where your child has been bullied, the incidences, any photographs, evidence of injuries. Make sure that you've got a record that your child has seen a GP if those injuries are substantial enough, or even if they've got emotional harm. Make sure that you keep a record of all those copies before you go and meet the school so that they know that you have done your homework as well. And ask the school who will be attending the meeting. Take the names down of every individual that will be attending the meeting. You have a right to know. And let them know as well who you will be bringing with you to the meeting, because equally this is a partnership and you both want to seek to resolve this with them in unison and having a look at how they can address this with your child too. But if they don't, then they obviously should know that you're going to take this seriously, and how organised you are will be key into sending that message very clearly across to them that you are taking this seriously. Now, if the school during this meeting notes down some action points, make sure that you put those action points with time frames as to when those action points will be achieved. Take a copy of the school anti-bullying policy with you, or even the government legislation by which all schools must abide. Take with you a record of all the incidents of bullying that your child has been subjected to. Any previous correspondence. Try to communicate with your child's teachers in writing all the time. I know it can be very frustrating. Sometimes you will go in the very next day, especially if your child is distressed, but make sure that every meeting you have, even with reception, where you request a meeting with the teacher, you come back and you write to reception to say that you are thankful that they have taken your concerns on board and listened to you because you went in at so many hours on so-and-so date to explain that your child was suffering from bullying. That's very important as well. Make a list of questions that you want answered from the school and any comments from your child about the situation. And it would be a good idea, if they're able to read or write, to reiterate that in their own words. So very important indeed. Now, when you meet the school, be very calm. Be calm, polite and courteous, because you will only be able to get your point across when you are articulate enough to do so, and when you can describe things in chronological order as to how they have happened, so that the school knows that you are being sensible about this and that actually you have your child's best interest obviously at heart, but that you are not going to step back until something is done about it as well. And during that meeting, it's important to set your expectations. So tell them that you need them to support your child, and that this is not going to be one-sided, and that the end goal is that the bullying has to stop, and it has to stop sooner rather than later, rather than take you through a barrage of procedural issues too. Agree an action plan with them. Now, there are some parents who have told me that they don't like the fact that their child is put in isolation sometimes, because it comes across that they are the perpetrator, whilst the perpetrator is free to mingle or mix with their children. And actually, I agree with that. It should never be the child that is taken out from that environment. But if it does involve a number of children, then sometimes steps have to be taken to safeguard your child's well-being, physical and emotional as well. Because the idea here is not to expose them to that stimulus too. Now, whilst this is all happening and you agree an action plan, agree a date and time to when you are going to get feedback, and also ask the school to set up their own action plan. That's very important too. And in the meantime, some of the suggestions that you can make to the school to help support your child is ask them to allocate a designated safe person. And it could be someone that the child chooses. For example, it could be a teacher or a teaching assistant, or it could be somebody from the pastoral team. Give them options. It's important, if you are working at a school, that you listen to this and give that parent some options too. It's important that a child has a safe space and a safe place in that school. So it could be the office of someone they trust. It could be the library. It could be a quiet room. It might be an idea giving that child a special card or a signal, which could be a certain book, for example, that could be handed into the teacher, which allows them to leave a classroom unquestioned. And there should be a plan in place as to where that child goes when they need to use it. But this also means that they don't feel trapped if they're being subjected to the behaviour, and the onus is upon the teacher to call out that behaviour as well when they see that this child has silently made that gesture, that this is what they're being subjected to. Also ask the school for a peer mentor for your child. If there's somebody in an older class that can help your child. I've always thought that bullying champions are great for younger children in school. And there are some schools that have buddy benches, for example, that children can go and quietly sit on if they're being bullied. And the older children from older years go and are allocated to sit next to them and be their friend. And if there is counselling available, I know that there are many schools that have counselling that's available, but if it's impacting on your child, is there counselling that can be available for your child if they're suffering from mental health issues as well? And after this meeting, be very clear on what has been discussed and go over those points again with the school. So I know that this has been quite a bit of information overload. And I was actually going to talk about bullying in the workplace, but it looks as if I'm going to have to do that in another show. But this was so important to me simply because of the fact that I have seen a tremendous amount of children who have suffered from bullying in schools, and often parents feel incredibly helpless about how to approach this. It can be deflating. You can feel As a parent, you can feel very vulnerable. When your child is feeling vulnerable, you want to do everything to protect them. So it's important that you go in with an element of seriousness and tell the school that you know your child's rights and stick with that and maintain that continuity with them. Also, keep your child informed. Talk to your child all the time. Don't let them be quiet about it. It's so important that we communicate with children. Sometimes I often think that in this global age of the internet, we are losing the art of communicating with people, and that needs to change. Talk to your children. Talk to them about how they feel, what they've done in school. They might turn around and say nothing. Stimulate that conversation from within them is so important. And you know, good conversations make good, responsible, articulate adults. Make sure you are talking to your children regularly. Please do. And in the meantime, it's really important as well that you make your thoughts known with a trusted individual as to how you're coping as a parent too. So approach a professional about this, ideally your GP. Well, this is the end of the show, and I will see you again next week for the Body Health and Mind Show.